Hey. Ooh, the Nuxt. The Nuxt logo. So, yes, thank you for coming. I'm still a bit croaky, honestly, but I'm feeling better. Um, hey, good to see you. Right. Okay. So this is something that has been a long time coming. So let's see if I can find the actual type, the actual issue. What we want to be able to do is this. Okay, additional generic for typing income, body, and query. There is so much love for the Nuxt logo. I'm glad. Okay, so we want to be able to actually have an autocomplete body. So you should be able to do something like, oh, I should probably open VS Code. Like a different VS Code. Not you. VS Code connect. So we want to be able to basically have a body that's coming in that's auto completed, and the same for query params. And once we do that within H3, we should then be able to use it in Nuxt and in Nitro to add not full safety, because that requires a validator, but this is then the sort of underlying infrastructure, type infrastructure we need for a validator to actually work as well. For a validator to be able to expose that type upstream to the location where we are actually fetching something from. So we're going to clone H3 and get going. Yes, I trust. Haha, it's always good to have some procrastination material. I was doing so much procrastination yesterday. You would not believe it. Oh, what is that? What is that? What have you done? Is that a broken Nuxt? Don't make it be a broken Nuxt. I don't like the idea of a broken Nuxt. In fact, it makes me want to check the issue list. Nuxt with glasses. Oh yes, it is. Yes, I couldn't immediately see it, but that's true. Okay, so what we want to be able to do is, I'll just create this a little test. So H3 is the framework, an HTTP framework like Express, as in it fills that niche, which basically handles a lot of these things. But this is not, like, these are not type tests, but we probably should be able to sort of write something in here just to help us test it as we go. Right, let's see. There is a very convenient, if you haven't come across it, a very convenient vtest type command. Hey, Woof. I'm not entirely sure how the magic works. Have I played with gRPC? Yes, I have. This is basically the first step. Is to provide a way. So the objective is, like, if you have a Nuxt project, and you are calling that $fetch, we have to be able to know so at the moment we know the return type of the function. We also have to have a way for that function, the server API handler, to sort of declare what it's expecting to come in. So once we have inputs, so we have outputs, that's fine. We have full output support. Okay. We also need to have full input support. And that is this is a purely type level thing. And once we implement it, we can then do some cool stuff on top of it in terms of like what the API is like. We can also support different APIs. Like there could be different H3 helper libraries. We currently have some H3 validating libraries. So we've got Typebox and H3 Typebox, H3 Zod, which validate things for us. But the thing is, although those validate the body and the query, like, they're usable within the API function, but they don't provide any type safety. They don't provide any type hinting, like when you fetch your own API. So I think if we can do this, it will make it really, really simple and beautiful to use. But the first thing that I want to do is just get set up with VTest type testing. And this is pretty cool. So you can actually write tests like this. And you need to run like type check. Like you have a special command, VTest type check, that you can run. So I'm just going to add that to the config to start with, and we'll just say test types is VTest type check. And let's just try it, test types. Lots of things not working there. But that actually doesn't feel like these are issues with us. It's probably an issue with our TS config or something like that. So it may be that right now I'm not going to set up the type testing within VTest. Let's just, or maybe I can, let's see. VTest config, I think we can set up, it says type check include source test. Maybe it's going to do it for us. TS config, skip libcheck maybe. Beautiful. Okay, so that's going to work. So we just now need to create a types.test.ts, and we can create a little type test here. You're very welcome. No problem at all. Basically, moving from any to unknown is a breaking fix. So in other words, it exposes bugs. So it can feel like it's breaking because bugs are being exposed, but actually, like accessing things with any, as far as like I know different people have different perspectives, but for me, accessing something with an implicit any, so where you haven't chosen as the author to type it as any, you're allowed to do that, you know, but if you're not choosing to do it, it's a bug, I think. So for example, if you have so we're talking about a runtime config. So we went to something like this. We had this. Now in Nuxt, you get typed runtime config. So you're accessing something. This is typed accurately, say as a string. But say you change the signature and you rename it to something, then this is now correct. What happens if you have implicit any is that there's no type error on config something, because it just goes from being string to being any, and so you get no help, and there's no, it's a really dangerous thing. So we moved it so that implicit types were now unknown, and this basically flagged up where people were not explicitly declaring their types, or where those types were not actually being inferred. And so it could feel like a breaking change if you were, for example, relying on that behavior. Anyway, so but that's the change we made, and in a minor. So, hey, Don Lucas. Okay, so let's see. What we're wanting to do is just establish a very quick. Let's see if I can run it on a watch mode. Well, there's no files yet. So what we want to do is what kind of file do we? Test-d.test. Okay. That's what it's going to need to be. And what we're going to say is we're going to call it type inference, types for event handlers to say. And we can just start with an empty thing. I just want to make sure that this is actually going to run for me. I think it's documented in the release notes. I think it's pretty documented. I appreciate it might have been frustrating, but okay, let's see. Might be the include here. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so what we want is to be able to do some type testing. So we're going to create an app here. Or we're going to just create an event handler. So equals event handler, and it's going to return an object, foo bar, and we want this handler to be, we want to be able to infer the return type. So expect type of handler as h3 event to equal type of foo bar. Okay, it doesn't. Oh, that's interesting. It's returning. Oh, event handler. Interesting. Okay, so let me just zoom in here. It's returning an event handler, and an event handler is returning event handler response, which is T or promise T. Okay, so basically it should be foobar or promise foobar. Also, not, oh. It needs to be a, what am I doing wrong here? To equal type of, there's an extra bracket. And that's not quite enough either. It needs to be event handler response is going to be interesting. Let's try importing it specifically. Hello, Ace. Yeah, interesting. So it's saying it is foo string. Ah, that's what it is. So it's right. And specifically, I think we could basically take it a little bit further and say this is going to be foo string or promise foo string. And the reason I'm doing that is that I think the explicitness helps us, because we like if a regression was introduced in that event handler response, then this might not pick it up. Okay, so this is great. So we have a sort of basic type test, return type test, and what we want to be able to do is provide some kind of input type test. And so what we want to be able to do is have this kind of behavior. We want to be able to specify our input. And so, hey, nice to see you. So we want to be able to specify our incoming body, and we want to be able to specify maybe our incoming query. And I think we could probably do that in one thing. So we could basically say our incoming body should have an ID. Okay, I think that seems like a reasonable thing. And then what I would want to be able to do here is have access to const body equals await read body event. And I would expect at this point that expect type of body should be the same as what I've declared, so ID string. And I also should expect the type of get query event to be the same as this. Although we can be more specific, we could pass never or something like that. So basically, this is like, obviously this isn't working at the moment. This is what I want to make possible. Right? Does that sound like a good idea? And so hopefully in the background, can you rerun please? Interesting. Why is that passing? Retest type check. That's very weird. That should not be passing. Is there something I need to look specifically here? Oh, maybe there are no its. They're statically analyzed by the compiler. So that's weird. Yeah, exactly. I feel that cannot possibly be the case. At the very least, the editor is telling me that this isn't right. What happens if I run tsc no emit watch? I bet we probably exclude, let's include test. Yeah, okay. We're not now, yeah, okay. So these are all the things that we were expecting errors about, as well as some extra ones. So we need to be able to have this flag. And I think it is actually detecting some issues with our tests. Mehmet, hello. Which we probably want to ignore. So let's not include test, let's just include test types.test-d.h. By the way, I wouldn't ignore them, I'm just ignoring them for the purpose of what we're doing right now. We can fix that later. But right now, yeah, now we're getting our test errors, our type errors. So if I comment those out, if I comment all of this out, yeah, okay, so it is watching it properly, and we have our little test runner. Great. Okay, let's make it work. So we have our event handler here, and so we have an event handler, and it has one generic. Now what we want is for this to have two generics. Oh, thank you about the keyboard. You can find out what it is at there, hopefully. So let's see, what we want to do is have two generics. So at the moment, now this might be a breaking change, so this might have to wait. But we also can consider whether we have a sort of backwards compatibility change. But we want, in this case, to have a sort of, we're going to call this T, we're going to rename to be return. And we also want an input type. So we can default it to any, or unknown, maybe. I think these things should be unknowns. But let's see, we have an input type coming in, and then what we want to do is be able to pass that input through to H3 event. So yes, I saw that. I'm glad things are working for you. Yes, it is a Keychron keyboard. I do like it. It was recommended by somebody else to me. So okay. So if you want to know, actually, Tim Benix recommended this particular model, and so I'm a big fan of it. So okay, so we're going to need effectively to pass the input to the event, and so it's because you weren't here in the Met last time. You didn't make me take enough breaks. That's what it is. It is a joke. It's not. It's because my kid gets colds because he is only a kid, and he's with lots of other kids. They all pass everything between them, and sadly, that means Daddy gets ill too. Okay, so so we want to pass the input to the event, and then the return is going to be the return value. So that is the kind of change we want. So yeah, sorry about that. I don't know why that happened actually. I think it happens when it overheats, but okay, so we need to be able to take, it's not that bad. Like I'm fine. Okay, so it takes the input to H3 event. And so we need to be able to receive a generic here. So we can say input is unknown. And so let's see, I think that means basically passing generic types, we're sort of having to drill through. We have to make sure the input that we want to pass can go all the way back. So here we want to be able to have a, that's fine, I think. Anything else failing? Not yet. Okay, so we have our input. And we want to be able to use that then in like read body. So read body needs to be able to access the type of an event. So we can say E is H3 event. Actually, E has to extend H3 event, and it's just going to be a default one. So we can say this is what the event is going to be. And actually, we probably want to be able to say that the return type is going to be like the generic of H3 event here. Hey, nice to see you. So, oh, it's gone off again. Why is that? It can't just be heat, or why is it overheating? Must be something else a bit wrong. I wonder if it's related with my computers. I have really no idea why this is happening. Okay, so let's see. The tricky thing, by the way, is not to implement this, but to implement it in a backwards compatible way. Because you see we have a type we're passing to read body, which is the return type we're expecting. But at this point, we're expecting now the event to be governing that return. So we could basically say this. We could basically just say... I think we can still make it return any, which I guess is probably what is wanted. So what we can say is this is going to be unknown extends T. In other words, the user hasn't passed an explicit input. Then it's going to be promise. Oh, then it's going to be promise. So E extends H3 event infer E. Then it's going to be H3 event is going to be input. It's going to be promise input or promise input body. Or if it doesn't extend H3 input, then it's never, because we need to receive an H3 input. And if it's not, then we return T, because T has been passed in this particular case. So, oh, sorry, these also need to be promises. Promise T. There we go. And oh, it wants me to say promise never. Does it? Maybe we just wrap the whole thing in promise. And that way we're not bothered by the specifics. Let's try that. Okay, this is fine. What we need to do, however, is specify H3 event a little bit more. So input extends body any and query any. And it's going to, by default, be any. And so therefore, we're now getting this correctly out. Let's test some of this stuff in our test file. So we should just, yeah, we're getting some errors now. Because the handler is now an H3 event any, so it doesn't have any kind of return type definition, which is I guess what we expect. So what we want is our event handler should take an input and a return. We need to make sure our event handler also has those same parameters. And we can pass them there as well. Okay. How are we doing? We're still fine now. No, unknown is definitely better. And Jen, hello. And I'm going to refactor this to see if I can remove any. But the issue is that Puya and I have slightly different opinions on any versus unknown. And so I don't want to sort of inject my opinions about unknown into an unrelated PR. I want to make that change separately so we can discuss it properly. So the good news is that this body is actually typed already. Our changes so far have resulted in typed bodies. We should now be able to do the same with getQuery. So what we can say here at this point is say e extends h3 event equals h3 event and pass it in this way. And it should now return e extends h3 event input, infer input, question input, query, or any. And so what have I missed out here? Oh, that bracket. So that should now, okay, have I not closed something? Presumably I have not closed something. Hey, there's just some really nice people here. What's going on? That was a big sneeze. Okay, let's see. Why is this not right? I received the blessing. Thank you very much. What am I doing? Okay, so look, what is going on here? Okay, what's the problem? Okay, so the issue is that the type of the response. I thought it was syntax error. Okay, let's just coerce it. So we're just going to basically say this is what the type is going to be. Okay, so let's go back and it's passing. So now we have a typed query as well. So our query event should now be, let's see. Oh no, it should be never because we passed a never, right? So we could also try another query, one that's defined. So let's drop that, and it should now be type of any. To be any, I think. Okay, we probably need to fix that because it probably should be defined. Now what happens if we pass a query? We can do the same. We want that to be type of ID string. Great. And you can actually see it. So we would say query.id, and it's coming through. Okay, so this all feels very, very promising. We need to do this, make sure that getQuery is going to return any. It's currently returning unknown, which is actually, in my opinion, correct. But having said that, that's a separate discussion to be had. So what we want is go back, make inboxes better. Okay, so what have we done? What have we done so far? We have got some of these things are sort of more generic. So we've got our test suite up and running. That's fine. We also have the tests that we're creating, which is actually not that significant. But what we want to do is we want to make sure this is backwards compatible. So the H3 event is fine. That's backwards compatible because it now has an input, which is just any, and it's defaulted, so that's okay. We also have a define event handler. This isn't backwards compatible exactly, and this would be a breaking change. So, but it's less significant because I think this is very unlikely to be used, but we might still have to fix this. And we also have a change in read body. Although this is backwards compatible because it keeps the body as the start, as the first generic. The get query is backwards compatible too because it's adding a generic. And we might have some issues elsewhere in our code base. So here, let's see, we need to, I think this might be where we're getting there. Okay, we need to add our input constraint. So we would basically say, we could actually just make this more specific. Record string any, I think, might still work. That's still going to work. Yeah. And so we now need to make our event handler have the constraint that we've described. So input has to extend that, and it's going to be any by default. Was that working? No, our get query is still returning unknown. So now in this case, it does extend h3 event. And I think what we can specifically say in this case is input extend unknown extends input any or input query. So that's basically going to not do it. Interesting. Oh, we have to specify at this point as well. And we probably want to export interface typed event input as this. And that way we will be able to reuse it in multiple places without needing to do this everywhere. Okay. And we can use typed event input in here. Ah, this is probably where the unknown is coming from. Let's try this. Yeah, that's right. Event. Okay, so we have our typed event input we could use here too. Good. We have our event handler. This is something we're going to have to work around, I think. Let's try it. Basically, the issue is if you want to the reason I want this to be first is that it's much more likely that you are going to want to, you have to specify what you want coming in, but you don't have to specify what is coming out because it might well be inferred. So I think we might be able to have a multiple function interface that makes this possible. Let's see. So our event there, it seems good. Here. That's backward compatible, backward compatible, backward compatible. But we still have the fact that it's not any, it is unknown. So, oh, I think that actually might be fine. The reason it's unknown, actually now that I think about it, is that something is being passed. So we want to ensure that this still works basically if the user doesn't pass anything. So it input types aren't applied when using legacy when omitted, something like that. So it probably is right that this would be unknown in this particular case, because we have specified input types. So in this case, if we haven't specified it, we can write some assertions about those. So basically, if there is no generic applied here, then we want body to be any, and we want get query event to be any as well, because that's what they were before. So okay, there we go. So I keep on forgetting the bit that I need to address. I think it's the define event handler, right? Because that went from being defining the return to the return as the first parameter to the typed event as the first parameter. So let's see if we can give us a couple of other function options here. So we can give a couple of function signatures. So we could say that if we the tricky thing is that let me just try this. Okay, so what we want to do to make possible is this. So we want to be able to say it allows backwards compatible generic for event handler definition. And this is, by the way, so nice, isn't it, to be able to write your type test like this, to make sure that, like, to see how like the changes that you're making in the code apply. And even when I don't actually have a type test like this, I always have this in a file open, often alongside the types I'm changing, so you can immediately see what it does. Like, do the red lines come? Do they go away? So what we want to be able to do is have like this, have a string, and we want to return a string. Yeah, and then we want to expect that the return type of that is going to be a string. I am really glad to hear you say that. That is nice. Okay, so that's what we want. We want to be able to pass something in the generic there. You would not believe that yeah, no, it's okay. So what we want to do is yeah, no, this is fine. We've got this one. It's the event here. It's the utils. Okay, so like one option would be to have like a define typed event handler. See, Jen, it's really nice to have you here. Okay, so we want to see if we can do some type magic. Basically, if something has a typed input parameter, then we respect it. So we could do something like this. So we could say input is any. So in other words, if there's only one input, then we're going to say input extends typed event input, question input, or any. And then we could say input extends, and then there's no return. So we would do return is any. So in that case, we would say if input is typed event input, then it's going to be return, otherwise it's going to be input. Okay, so that's our legacy type, and what we would want is exactly the same on the way out again as well. Okay, so, and then this is the correct one. This is the new one that we've put in. So maybe we even move this lower in priority. Let's see, does that work? And I'm feeling like it might not work. So let's see. It seems to have worked. It seems to have worked. Okay, so we have a backwards compatible version. The only issue is that if you have an explicit return type specified that returns body or query, then it will take those as the input. But it might be a reasonable compromise. So, and we'll call this typed event input signature, because it's not actually a specific. It's about autocomplete. So if you are able to give the I think if I understand what you mean. The fact that we give the typed event signature, it means that you get type support for body and query when you are typing them in. So we should be able to do something like this. So if I drop those out, oh, actually, I won't get them because of the backwards compatibility thing I put in. So you're right. But it will be better down the line, I think. Okay. Let's format everything. Oh, it's not. Oh, we're getting some errors now. Okay. So in here, yeah, we're getting errors because of how we've done the return type at this point. So we need to specify that this is that and that. So we basically specify our return type, and that seems good. Okay. Is there anything else where we might want to? I think that seems fine. We can always add additional things because we have this sort of input which has body and query, but it might have other parameters as well. You could specify other things too. Right, so let's see. I think we should clarify what this thing is for. This provides backwards compatibility with previous signature where first generic was return type. We should remove next major release. When appropriate. Hey, see you, Vanling. Okay. Good stuff. We have our type test. I don't think we need this. And I think we can probably add to, do I need skip lib check anymore? Let's try that again. Yeah, I still do. Good stuff. Okay. So we're going to call this feat typed event handlers, or input types maybe. And we'll say Oh, there we go. Right. Okay, this is super quick. I think that's been sort of not long, which means we have time to do some more cool stuff. Unless you want to see how what this will do. Like, you'll have to trust me on this. This is going to really enable some very, very nice things. But let's first get a PR up. This adds support for explicit typing of input for event handlers, which will unlock autocomplete when consumed in fetch. Down the line, I've kept the signature of return types of any for backwards compatibility, but this will need, but I would advise reconsidering this. See, and also added backwards compatibility for existing generic order. Great. Okay, this all feels like it's sort of going in the right direction. Good stuff. Let's create the pull request and very much hope the tests pass in CI. Because I guess actually the one thing I didn't test was whether it still builds, because there might be other type issues that will stop it from building that I just didn't notice. No, it seems to be working. Great. That was super simple. Okay. What is next, people? What is next? Let's go to Nuxt and see if there are any issues. And I will also have a think about some other things that are in my mind about... We could do some stuff on file uploads. Like, I don't know if anyone's interested in that, but that is definitely something that might be possible. Oh, that would be me and the rest of the team as well. But you're probably talking about the Stripe module. And I just need to reply to that. Basically, I think it would be good not to overwrite the slug of the current Nuxt2 Stripe module, but just to add a new one. But I can actually just now go on and do that. It's not this one. As a separate new module. So, shamefully hoist. I could show that. So basically, we've been merging quite a lot of pull requests that improve things for shamefully hoist setup. Not sure if that is something that you've come across, but so we have a lot that's already working out of the box, particularly if you're using the Edge channel. But there is one set of things that isn't working, and it's about module resolution. And it's not about whether or not we can get it to work. We can get it to work, but it's about wanting it to be working in the best way, which is, for example, expecting as much as possible bundlers to be handling this, because ideally they will be doing that rightly. If they're not, they need to handle it better. So let me see. Right. I'm thinking we'll do something with the terminal. It's Alacrity. It is super fast, and I really love it. But yes, we can do some file uploads. So basically, I asked a question on Twitter about what integration to do next. And I gave a couple of options for folk, which were, I should find this in my own profile, I guess, which were somewhere here. Yes. So I wanted to know what we integrate next, basically. And I gave Clerk, Upload Thing, and Axiom just as a few that I've heard people mentioning. And something else. A lot of people saying something else too. By the way, I very much want to be doing things that are useful for people. So it matters what people use. So Clerk got a pretty good showing, and I'll almost certainly build something there. Upload Thing also. Upload Thing is, I don't know, I like it because Theo's doing it, and I like Theo. But uploads in general are something that I think would be useful to talk about with Nuxt. Like there are a couple of things that we can now do. Like we have better streaming support in H3 and in Nitro, and that's often quite useful. Integration with S3 is important if you're wanting to process user uploads. So there's lots of stuff there that is definitely worth it, worth having a look. So let's see if anything happened with H3. Did it pass CI? Did not pass CI. Why not? Failed abysmally. Lint. It's always lint that gets me. This does need to be. There we go. There are no lint staged hooks, I think, in this project. I feel there probably should be. You're probably right. But let's see. That's a lot of linting. Like, look at all that. Basically, the H3, like the UnJS repos, all went in like one fell swoop to a completely different style from all the Nuxt repos. And honestly, I think I don't get it. I don't get why that happened, but it's totally fine. But it does mean that I have this huge mental like load of swapping between the two of them. And my editor is definitely not set up to use Prettier to auto format. I want to check out DSLint. Josh keeps on mentioning it, and I think it will be worth checking out. Okay, so hopefully H3 is going to pass now. Let's check out Upload Thing. Okay, so I have created an account. I created an account some time ago, I think, when it was still in beta. I have not done anything with it. So let's see what I can do with it. Okay. Okay, let's try this. I'm going to need a new Nuxt project. Not H3. I'm going to open a folder. Oh, we're going to create a new Nuxt project. So npx nuxi init upload thing. Maybe I will even use the module init. So init t module upload Nuxt upload thing. DSLint. Maybe it's not DSLint. Okay, I don't think that is what I'm talking about then. Okay, Josh. Where's Josh? What is he saying? He's definitely said something about DSLint before, I think. Can I search him? DLint? DSLint? Obviously, ESLint will come up everywhere. Oh. Do I have to use his username to figure this out? I'm sure there's something about DS. Can't really find out linting. But basically, Josh has very strong opinions about DSLint. Yeah, I have my own module template as well, which I tend to use. But I'm just starting this. It's sometimes very good to just know what the default Nuxt module template is. I like to experience it myself rather than just always using my own module template. Because that sometimes highlights things where we should change something as a default for people. Okay, let's open Nuxt upload thing. And let's do the sort of update that we need to do. So we need to find this, and we're going to search and replace that for Nuxt upload thing. And I'm going to call this Nuxt upload thing. It keeps on going out. And we're going to call this Nuxt integration for upload thing. Okay. I can do some other chores a bit later on. But the key thing is to have something that we can get going with, get in it, and there we go. We have our module. So we're going to install our dependencies and get going. So the first thing that we need to do is access the upload thing docs, and I really know nothing about it. So what is it? It is wrapping S3, and you have your own endpoint, which you need to put in place, and then they have a client library and a React hook that covers it for you. So what you do is you have this sort of create upload thing, and it handles the upload. So I think the first thing we're going to do in our project is just create a playground which has got like a form for uploading something. So we've got our form, and we have got to install Volang, and we have got to we're going to like submit it to submit prevent is handle upload, and basically we're going to have an async function handle upload. And what we want to do is like post to an endpoint event. Form is e.target as HTML form. And we probably want to have some kind of server API. And it's going to, we already have an API. We're going to call this like upload. And we're just going to have an API, going to have an event handler, and it's going to receive an upload. So console log received, upload, and it's going to return success true, something like that. And then we want to actually post something here and check that it works. So let's dev our playground and see what's happening. Yeah, there's nothing there, right? So we can have a button, and it's going to just say like submit form, and we need an input type file. I think that's all we need, right? Just choose file, and we can pick some image here and click submit form, and it should log out like submitted or something. Is that what we did? Oh, port. So we should be able to hit this thing. Oh. Do I need to make it a type submit? I thought that was by default. Oh, we're not logging anything. Console log submitted. But what we actually want to do is return is await fetch API upload method post, and we probably want our form our file to be in the body. And let's see, we might not actually want this to be done in the body quite like, let's see, how would we want to submit a file? We could just use the raw request. Well, let's see. Okay, so I think we should be able just to sort of post our body like this. Is that going to work? So if we do that, we should be able to submit the form, and let's just check what we're getting in the other end. Wait, read body, event. And is that going to be okay? We're getting a form, I guess. What do we have? We also have a read multi-part form data. That might work a bit better. Let's see. No, read raw body. The issue here might be that we are using $ fetch. Maybe we should just use fetch like this. Let's try that. Form data. What do you mean? Or you mean we're already doing this? Oh, we probably need to set the content type. Would that make a difference? Is that a bit better? I guess I'm just wanting to make sure that we are actually sending the data and that we can handle it on the other end. So let's just check what our fetch requests are doing, whether we actually have data going through. It's form data. That is literally all that it's sending. Maybe that's the issue. Yeah, we're not appending anything, right? Okay, that's why it is. So data append, like we've got to get the files right out of the form. So no. How do we get the, yeah, that's right. Name has got to be like uploaded file. Okay. Is that going to make a difference? Like on its own? I don't need to specifically, like that's the beauty of form data. You shouldn't need to specifically have to do anything with it. It should just be there. Yeah, there we go. Okay, great. Okay, so it was the name. That was silly of me. Thanks. Okay, perfect. So we're submitting our thing to our backend, and we should actually be able to read multi-part form data like this, and get it here. Defined. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so that's our raw body. And we can do something with it. We've got our binary here. We might like ultimately want to get some kind of stream. So read. Could we get that as a string? Yeah, as a stream. I think we could. So we could basically say event, and then we could get this back as a buffer. Might make sense. But we might also want to consider doing that as a stream, but that I think might be something which takes us a little bit deeper into Nitro APIs. Okay, so we have got a buffer which we can log out here. And yep, it's looking like a buffer. Right, now we want to pipe that somewhere else. We want to, let's see what we can we do anything with, upload thing. So this is all purely, it's not giving us like an endpoint to hit in terms of the server. It's just taking, okay, no, we have this here. This, I guess, is like under the hood, what we could call, I think, actually I'm not sure about that. Where's the roadmap? Is there a Nuxt on the roadmap? No. View? Oh, Nuxt support is on the roadmap. Assign. Okay, so let's see. It seems to me like actually there's not a lot more we can do other than dive into the source code for upload thing itself, which I think we probably could do. It seems to be open source. Let's give that a try. Okay, so connect. Hey, welcome. Well, we basically did the initial thing, which was type safe body for API routes quite quickly. And we have a PR up, which I hope is now passed. No, it's not. Oh, it has passed now that we've linted it. And hopefully that will get merged. If that gets merged, we can do some very, very cool things in Nuxt. So watch this space. But what we're now doing is looking at at upload thing. And let's see if we can get going with it on the back end. So we have got, I've just cloned their source. And they've got a few packages, React Solid Okay. It feels like, yeah, okay, this is good. This browser is Arc. I used to use Firefox Developer Edition sort of entirely. At the moment, I'm using Arc, but it's still very much, I'm not wedded to anything. This is an invite link if you want to download it. You're welcome to use it. Let's see. So, right. So what are we doing? We're trying to figure out how this package works. So shared, that feels like a good place to start. Types, utils, file types. These are all types to install some dependencies. Where's the server bit? Do we have a React? They have okay, Apter. Where is the upload thing next? Haha. Probably. Yeah, I'll look forward to doing that as well. Where is upload thing next? Where is it coming from? These are examples and documentation pages. So maybe there's another repo which has that. Okay. Upload thing is the agnostic library. This one, it says. Oh, and I see it has a next output. Right. So let's see what we can do here. It has app router and page router. And presumably we could have a next output as well. You're welcome. So we could have a sort of next thing. And we could add next as a subpath import. And it's a type. And I'm sure there's a lot to do here, but let's just first see what we could do. So basically we have a sort of internal create builder. What does create builder do? It returns this internal builder. And there's an input middleware on upload complete. This all feels very... Where's our sort of node request response signature coming from? So we have a handler. Forgive me, I'm just figuring out how this works. I don't know if it does, is the answer to that. Okay, so this is a request handler. It's expecting this, which is a non-standard API. Okay, so this is clearly returning. This is next middleware. No, I'd be very happy to share it. It's not that complex. But probably, let's see. Yeah. Okay, I basically created the theme for it with based on like the theme I used for my editor, so it matches. So I would say let's Let's create a gist. And yeah, there we go. Boom. It is yours. Okay, so this one doesn't feel very, it's very much not generic. This is very specific to Next. But I wonder how it works for Solid. What does Solid do? They have upload things Solid. I wonder if they have a very similar, so they're actually importing the type and the create upload thing. Interesting. But they just have a different kind of handler. Let's see. It's going off again. Why is my camera doing that? I wonder if it's power related. Okay, so we have create upload thing, and what is that actually going to do? Well, let's actually just, if this works in Solid Start, maybe it will work with us. Let's see what we can make happen, okay? So we have a sort of Solid Start thing, and I can't be that similar to Next. This is their central like utility, I think. And then that's the thing that uses it. Okay. So we might just give that a try. Okay, so we have got we'll have a util, or maybe we'll use a lazy event handler, which basically means we can have an async setup function, which can initialize this upload thing event, thing, and then we can return the event handler from it. So we can do this like this. Okay, so we have our sort of event handler is coming out down there. And then up here, we have our sort of initialization. And this is basically very, very useful for anything that is doing any async creation of like a singleton or something like that. And this very much seems to be that. So we don't want to export anything. We're just creating something that we're going to be able to use down the line. And we can install our dependency. Yep, documentation always helps, doesn't it, if you want to pick something up. Okay, so we've got upload thing. It's returning something. Now this upload thing, what are its methods? So it's a function, I guess. So the input needs to be okay. We have an upload router. Yeah, it is expecting a next request. Makes me wonder how this works on Solid at all, but okay. Then what we actually have is this. And we can actually get that here. And that's presumably create server handler is coming from upload things server. Tom, you have missed the thing that was in the title, which has happened And hopefully it's going to enable some really beautiful things. So it's going to enable type-safe input access to the Nux body. So we'll be able to do something like this. So be able to say sort of fetch API test, and then when you come to body, this is going to be typed, and it will autocomplete ID and require a string and things like that. And basically with not a lot more work, and it was actually really quick. I was surprised. I thought there was going to have to be more change, but we'll see. It's probably something for the next minor or even maybe potentially a major release of H3. Okay, so basically we want to be, okay, so we have get and post, and the get is going to take, what else might we have? So there's create server handler. Do we also have, what if I pull create upload thing from there instead? Seems to be the same. The magic is happening. The magic is happening. I would happily do that. Okay, what kind of request is this? Is this right? Should it be request headers? I think it should be. I think it should be like this. That's just based on the types of this file. Let's fix it. So we've got a very basic thing. Looking for the docs. The docs here as well? Yes. So what's the problem? We have a sort of rec headers, and that's solid start setup. So sorry about this, people, but we really should fix this for them. We need to be able to do this. Edit. I think this is right. Oh, sorry people. It always turns back on, but I don't know, it turns off. View query and Pinia, and when to use one versus the other. I mean, I think view query is going to be very helpful when you are sort of handling sort of data fetching, and like that's your source of your truth. But Pinia is going to be able to do a lot more than that and handle other kinds of store, and so that link will probably be very good. Okay, so we have this thing, and this request headers, request body. Okay, this is like a fetch request. Okay, so we have a server handler. The server handler has a post and get, And these things are, they're expecting a request. So they're expecting a fetch request, which is not what we have here, but we probably can normalize it in using something from unenv. So we could basically say, let's see if we could do that. So we've got fetch, that's going to handle this. So here we have yeah, this is the kind of thing that we want. But this is handling client-side fetching, not Nitro. What is it going to access from it, I guess? This is weird. This is a module file, but it has like a common JS, some common JS syntax. Okay, so this is returning us a get. The get is returning a response. I see. Is there any other way to get this? Okay, what is returning this? That. Okay, it takes an input, which what expects a request and a response. Okay, the build request handler is going to be create next route handler, and then it returns the post and the get. So actually we might want to access this from next, which is probably going to be the node thing. Let's try that. Let's try it. This would be very weird if it works. Okay, so we have a next route handler, which is expecting a request, still expecting a request, so a fetch request. This is very unexpected. I feel like there has to be a better way of doing this. Like if we are wanting to have a Nuxt version of upload thing, like it needs to be able to take in a different, like the kind of object that we have in our request, which is an event, an H3 event. It's not, we're not dealing with fetch requests. We're dealing with like node requests, if anything. Like as in if anything that is this is closer to what we want. This next page API handler, we could try that. Let's try that. Whoa, it's not there? Next legacy. Okay, until we manage to sort this. What's coming back? Oh, I see. This is just directly the handler, request and response. Okay, we could try that. And it takes in the router. So just that. So we could basically try this. Event node request, event node response. And that should give us, let's see what happens. I'm not expecting this to be great, but there we go. Let's see what happens. This presumably also needs to be configured with some kind of configuration key, right? We need to have environment variables. And those are, I wonder where those are going to be consumed from. The issue is more the other way, that we need to return the, it might be returning a response, like a raw response. We have to convert that to something else to get it back out of Nitro. And then the same the other way around. We would have to, transform the H3 event into a request. Hey, I'm feeling a little bit better, thank you. So is this just directly going to try and read these configuration keys within the handler? It's just expecting that's going to be set in env, which might be the case. Alvaro, hello. Which might be the case in development, but is very, like, that's not what I would expect. So I'm going to just get my actual API keys, so nobody copy them, please. Okay, so let's see if we can make this work again. Oh, make it work at all. So let's see if I have got any files. Let's see if we can just upload something this way. No. Response is cannot read properties of undefined reading slug. Probably because it's looking for, it's looking for everything. It wants a query object to be set. It wants probably a JSON function to exist. So let's try and just make it, like, coerce it into having all those properties. So event node request query is get query event. Event node request dot JSON equals read body event. Is that all we need? Let's try that again. What do we know? Status is not a function. Event node request status equals status set status, set response status. Oh, that will be unres, I guess. Set response status event status. Okay, let's try that once more. Boom. Reading send. Okay. What is trying to send? Upload thing, next legacy, send. Oh, it wants the thing to be returned. So we return it. Return event node res. Okay, let's try once more. Submit. No. Send is not a function. I feel like literally it is at this point. We defined it so that we want the body. No. We should be doing this literally. Setting it, and then we're passing all of that in. Let's try it. Oh, I think probably what Sebastian's talking about is things like things like database access, which is already there's something open in Nitro if you have a look. H3 as well. There's some pull requests that are pretty interesting. I don't want to spoil anything, but you can have a look, see what you think. Ah. Oh, it needs send. Okay, so event node res send equals response and event node res end. I think actually it's the same, right? We just define it like that. That's probably fine. Let's try that. Still, request body must be a JSON string. Event node request body is wait read body event. Okay, more stuff is happening. Yeah, we could give that a go. That would be absolutely good. That would be certainly better than what we're doing at the moment, for sure. If it works, that's the only thing. Let's just comment this out then and give it a go. Just creating what we want. So we'll try instead this server, and we'll create a server handler and upload thing, and then our server handler will be this. Oh, and this needs to be upload the thing as well. Okay, we'll try this. So what you're suggesting is new request. So and it's going to have what in it exactly? You want to pass the event into it? Because it needs to have like stuff in it. It needs to have the body, which needs to be a stream, I think. So can we take it like that? We need to have no, why would I scold you? Yeah, I'm not really, this isn't really feeling like let's go back to this. I think this is actually working. Oh, thank you. Okay, so where are we? What are we? We're hitting this, and we're saying it needs a slug, which is great. So where's that slug meant to come from? There's some slug. So we're expecting to hit this upload thing, and it needs to have Okay. No, that's nothing. That's only that we are... Probably need to restart. What we're doing is I'm basically poking at, like with a stick, at upload thing to see what, like, how it works before we, because probably if we integrate this, we'd need a custom driver, but I just want to see, can I make this thing work with what there is at the moment? Okay, so it's saying we need a slug. Is that because of how I'm submitting this? I need to use their utility probably. So their utility, they have a hook, like a React hook, which is something like some front end utility called create fetch. They've got some utility that does this, right? Okay, use event or use fetch. No, I think there's maybe the drop zone. Okay, what's their example? They have their upload thing takes in the input. What about their app directory? They have a page and where's their form? Okay, upload button. This upload button is going to come from React. And okay, the use upload thing. So it should have I see. So it wants to come back with a slug, which is going to be a different endpoint. So if I were to hit that on my end, just hit the API upload thing with the GET request. Oh, that shouldn't work. It shouldn't do anything on a body request. So I need to update that. So event node res end JSON stringify. Okay, so here are our slugs coming back. So we've got video and image, middleware, without middleware. And so presumably we have to pass those back in. This is probably really boring for anybody. I'm sorry about this. Okay, so we then have to hit, like, so we've got our slugs. We've got it in here, slugs, and config. And we have do we have an example of a drop zone? Endpoint. Aha. So yes, you have an endpoint. What do we do with that? We have this endpoint. We create the URL. That basically just does this. Okay. And it adds it to API upload thing, query params. Okay, that's fine. So we would basically be doing something like this. We would have action type is upload and slug is without middleware, just as an example. I see what you mean. Well, that may be a better option, actually. No number after minus sign in JSON at position 1. It clearly needs more stuff. So we have our upload thing. Basically, like we're re-implementing upload thing, which is probably not the best way of doing it. So we should have our request URL. We also need a body, which is the files. And interesting. So this actually doesn't upload the files at all. That totally makes sense. This just gets some endpoints. Okay. This just gets some endpoints. So we shouldn't even be uploading the files. We want files and input. And input should be what should input be? Something else. Maybe it could be undefined. The point is there should be some files. And that can be an array of just, yeah, exactly, that's what it does. So, which makes a lot of sense. I was wondering why we had our own API endpoint. Okay, well, this is making it much simpler. Let's try, because we're not having to handle the body, which is immediately much better. So let's do what Heb was suggesting. So we'll pull in the server handler. We're going to create our own handler like this. We're going to instead create a response or request. And is event node rec method equals post. Then we'll read it or defined. There we go. And then oh. That is almost what it looks like, isn't it? Okay, so basically, if we have a post request coming in, then we can actually just directly do this. So we have a response, and we can basically do something like, And then if it is a GET request, then we'll do something very similar. Type query. Oh, that will be there in the thing. So let's try that one more time. Does that work? No. Failed parse URL. At what stage did that happen? Yeah, oh, you're right. It has to be URL. And it needs also, presumably, to be, it probably will need like a host. Yeah. We'll just hardcode that in for the moment. We could actually use the get request URL. Beautiful. Okay, so that is actually working very well. So thank you, Heb. That was definitely better than all of my polyfilling. So great. Okay, so we have our uploading router. We have our handler. We need basically to have some kind of solution. Oh, the callback URL is likely going to be related to the server we're on. Why should it be localhost? Right. So basically when we hit our upload, we are not doing anything with our files at this point. We are just going to directly post a list of files, and that will be names. So we'll say some file.ping, and then we have input, which I think is just going to be test. Let's try that. Let's see what happens if I hit that. Weird. It's a post request. Do we need to specify what type this is, maybe? Yeah. Okay, so great. It's coming back with some pre-signed URLs, which is what we expect. And then, okay, so basically the thing that I wanted to check first is that the Nitro piece is going to work fine with upload things. So I think it is. So all that we need at this point to do is handle the, just want this to go in. This is the whole thing that I thought we were going to do. Is basically convert the composable to Nuxt. So we've got some utilities. So there's this create fetch thing. So we can basically convert that to Nuxt to start with. So we'll say composables. Yeah, totally agree. It is fantastic. So composables, we'll do fetch. And then this thing is basically like converting, this is basically probably a ref, I would guess. it's not exactly that, is it? I think we want to basically do this. So const res equals ref. And then what we want to do is have a function fetch sort of fetch resource, and then we want to call it. And we want to basically say this. It needs to be async. Okay, and we want to fetch the URL. And we have, what are these options? Oh, they need to be, well, we could do fetch, that's okay. Okay, super. So we've got our sort of create fetch thing. What else are we going to need to create for so this is a sort of drop zone component, I think. And then we have a use upload thing. So we'll need the use upload thing. That needs to be a composable too. So this is okay. Create this. There we go. Okay. Okay. So we have now ported the use upload thing from solid to view. And we now need just to port the drop zone across, which is a little bit more complicated, I would think. So we have a component, and we'll say, what is it called? Upload drop zone or something. What did they call it? Upload button and uploader spinner. Okay, so they have a number of components there. Upload button, upload drop zone, and uploader. Interesting. Okay, so these are just the components.ts, but we're going to actually just export them like this. Upload button and upload drop zone and uploader. Question. So you're saying when creating composables like use task, you have some methods, a general ref, and or you return a status for every method. So I think that It depends a little bit on your situation. So I don't entirely understand your composable, but I think what you're going for is something that is intuitive for people to understand in your own code base and project. And like it's difficult to answer outside of that, but yes, that's the tricky piece. So we're going to have a public folder, and it's going to have a spinner. This is the spinner. And we're going to have a uploader. And it's going to be this. And so we're going to have a script setup. We're going to have a template. And basically the template is going to look like this. And it's going to have an upload button and an upload drop zone. And we're just going to vbind the props. Actually, I think $props is going to do it for us, except that we don't have any props declared. So what we will need to do is basically say define props. Where's tRouter coming from? Anyway, we will need sort of, we're going to create a new component called types. Hey, Carlos. Listen to Carlos. Whatever he says is the answer. The transform function needs to return, like, it shouldn't return a class. The issue is that that is then later going to be put into the Nux payload. So maybe you just need to elsewhere add a payload reducer that's going to be able to put your API response into some format that can be put in a string and copied from the Nux server to the Nux client. Is what I would think. Okay, so this is the thing that we're going to want to export. We're going to need some of these things. File router. All of these things. Let's paste them up there. Okay, so we have some types. Those props are going to be the no. Great. And so what we're saying is these are the props. Oh, we have a generic. So we're going to say, interesting. Where's file router coming from? Hey, welcome. Good to have you back. Probably need module resolution bundler here. And have we installed uploading yet? Not sure why that's not being recognized. Okay, that should now be a thing. Good. Okay, we have a drop zone. Are these only meant to be examples, or because that looks like demo code? That doesn't look like real. You wouldn't use that in your server and in your production thing. Okay, so yeah, what else do we have? We have a button. I feel like we can do that. Come on, upload button. This is it. Is this it? Okay, so we have this, and is this fun watching me convert like React to Vue? Script setup. And we have got some stuff. We have our template, which will be down here. And we need to move all of this stuff out. There. Okay. We can maybe comment it out for now. Come on. Yes, it's called UFO. So you can see it in here. Do you get type safety when you receive data from the server? Yeah, so you can. You'd use a validator like Zod or Typebox or something else, Archetype. Basically, the Nuxt doesn't perform validation on incoming data or on outgoing data. You do have type safety when you're accessing routes within Nuxt because it's based on the actual that function that is returning the data. But it's not because there's any validation. It's just because it's internal to your app. You need to implement your own validation. But yes, that is going to be much easier in a moment based on what I was doing today. So we probably need to get some of this stuff and enable it. So again, we have a generic, which we'll use from here. And we will do this. And I have to do the same props. Don't you love it when you have code like that? That feels very, very dubious. Well, let's pop that in. Okay, upload progress, and basically this we just say upload progress, value 0. This we say props. Looks like a lot of this is unused, so we drop it out. And drouter, where is this coming from? Oh, what's the matter? Cannot find name drouter. A lot of red underlines. Oh, I think we probably need to finish this. Okay, so we have got input ref. What do we do with it? Oh, that's weird. Oh, I see. And we would just say input ref. And here at change, this will probably be fine. Basically the if yeah, shallow ref. Shallow ref for the win. Oh, and spinner is actually just a an image. Okay. Right. We are making good progress here. There are a few type errors. What's that coming from? Attribute name. I'm not 100% convinced that is a real error. But where's this coming from? Oh, I see. It's actually this thing. See you later. I'm going to have to go actually as well. Thank you. It is not fun. That is absolutely right. Okay, so we're pretty near on the upload button. Upload drop zone. This thing is going to be very similar in lots of other ways. I think it actually uses the drop zone component, which presumably we will have to do here too. We're going to have exactly the same set of things at the start here. Namely, we're going to have to import our defined props. We'll have our upload progress. Going to be another ref. Set upload progress. This is very similar to previous. I think we'll have to move some of that out into a shared utility. Why is it giving me... It's not an attribute name, it's a class name. Not quite sure what that error is. Oh, I see, it's that. I wonder if that's the issue with the other one as well. There's probably a class in there that has got, yeah, there we go. Okay. I think I'm going to, I think we're very nearly there, by the way, with all of this. And this will have to be refactored. So quite a lot of this will probably come out of the module. It'll probably maybe even make it into upload thing if some of this is like view specific and not unique to Nuxt. But we have got definitely something that is there, and almost all the way there in terms of the code we need to actually have to make this thing working. So I'm just going to wind things up and just make sure I've got it all saved. And then we can maybe pick up another day. But thank you everybody for joining me. It's been a lot of fun. I'm very much fingers crossed on the typed input parameters for H3. And yeah. It's been great. Appreciate it. See you all later for sure. Let's see if there's anyone that we should raid. How about we raid Dax? Is that the channel name? See you all later.